Hey everyone, how you doing? How you feeling? I hope all is well. I'm your host. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee, and you're watching Open. It's that live interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. You can stay connected to us through social media, BronxNet TV. Now, leading things off, our first guest is a communication expert and conflict resolution strategist. She's here to share her perspective on the recent gun incidents in Buffalo and beyond, and to highlight she has an On the Matter of Race book and a program. You may want to check that out. So please welcome to the show, Lynne Maureen Hurdle. Lynn, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Lynn, you do a whole lot in our community. I know you're a conflict resoluter and a leader. You know how to get in there and just bust it all apart, break those conflicts up. Tell us about some of the work that you're doing.
Yes, I do. I bring people closer to conflict so they have a better relationship so that they can engage in conversations powerfully, productively, and profitably, which means that they have better relationships on top of their business is better. So we do everything from everyday communication, teaching parents how to interact with their children, how to interact with your significant other, community relationships. And for the past 3 years, we've really been tackling racism and concentrating on my program on the matter of race,
Yeah.
which we are running 7 groups now. And it's primarily for white people who really want to learn about racism and engage in confident and intimate conversations around racism.
Yeah, and you make it less scary by actually helping people see it. It says it right
Yeah,
here. And
that's right.
you bring it close enough to them where they can get to the roots of it. Explain that.
That's That's right. So basically, the one of the things that we discovered is that people of color tend to talk about racism. We talk about it around the dinner table, different events, because it truly affects our lives on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But white people don't have those regular conversations. What they're taught mostly is, just be kind to everyone, and then you won't be racist. But they don't really talk about
Mm.
what racism is historically, how it significantly and systematically changes and affects people of color's lives and all of our lives. So we bring it in conversations, not just about what has happened historically, but how you are touched by it. So, how did you grow up? What were the kinds of things that you saw or people actually
Yeah.
ignored? And what are the feelings when you see things like Buffalo, that those kinds of incidents that continue to happen, and yet we're not able to stop those things from happening?
Yeah.
And a lot of white people just don't understand how they can be involved in actually learning enough to not just do something on a systemic level, but on a personal level.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for all the work that you're doing and bringing people together and helping people to realize that these things are going on. What was your first reaction when you heard about the shootings in Buffalo and then some of the others across the
You know,
country?
yeah, my first reaction, I've spent a long time, it's been over 40 years that I've been doing this work. And gun violence is something that has been in my work for a long time. But in particular, Buffalo, my first reaction was, here we go again. Right? We have not
Yeah.
learned the lessons. We have not had the conversations. We have not done the work to really be honest about racism in this country. And so here we go again with this shooting. And still, right after something else happens and something else, right? We have Texas, and then yesterday was Philadelphia, and
Yeah.
all these different things that happen that keep us from really tackling this problem, which is centuries old, to be honest, right?
And
And so for me, I said, we're putting together a summit for people to really come together to talk about racism. And I think that it's going to be unusual in that it will probably be the first time a lot of white people in particular, and even people of color, will be hearing from white people who are really addressing the issue through the program. So yes, so on the matter of race live virtual summit, it's free. It is in July 21st, 22nd, and
Yeah.
23rd. And it is going to be a phenomenal opportunity to hear from folks who are doing the work, but not just people of color, but a significant amount of white people, people from On the Matter of Race program, who are talking about why learning about and talking about racism on a regular basis has made significant change in their lives, in the lives of their families, and then in the lives of their community.
Yeah, and of course, you're a coach, so you're going to present that follow up. Tell us about the follow up that comes after this big conversation.
Yeah. So after the conversation, well, first of all, people will have the opportunity to ask questions during the conversation. But
Yeah.
afterwards, we are enrolling folks in On the Matter of Race program because our next journey starts up in September. So we're going to have we're opening up three level 1 opportunities for white folks who really want to learn about this and be engaged in our community. And then there are for people of color the opportunity to be guest speakers in On the Matter of Race is there. We always have fireside chats and people coming into the groups,
Yeah.
but also being involved in our work, staying on the mailing list. I blog about this and I present opportunities throughout the year for folks to come together to really do work around this.
And of course, these are difficult conversations, but you're not holding back any punches for sure.
No,
You got to
no,
you got to if you're going to present it, you got to let people know that what we're going to be talking about. And
that's
what are
right.
the difficult but necessary conversations that need to be had uh, around race and to avoid tragedies like we so
Yeah.
often have that just keep coming up one after the other?
Yeah, well, I think one of the most difficult ones is that white people really do need to talk about what is the consistent factor here. For the most part, when you have these kinds of shooters like
Mm.
Buffalo, the shooters are young white males, right? Or white males. And the conversation is not had. Wow, how are we teaching our children? What are we bringing them up to know about racism and how they handle whatever significant feelings are coming up? Like I, our sons, my sons have had to have the conversation of about race and racism at early ages, right, to protect themselves. As most people of color will talk about the fact that that's what we do.
Yeah.
But that isn't a conversation in the homes of a lot of white people.
And
And I'm
that's a
not
whole
saying
nother conversation.
that's a huge
Yeah,
conversation
yeah.
be had, and they need to really look at why this is usually the profile, right? I mean, we don't even have an official profile of someone who tends to do these kinds of shootings. But the truth is that if you look in significant numbers, not everyone, but significant numbers, these are white male
Yeah,
shooters.
and there's a lot of different reasons for purchasing a gun and going out and uh, and committing these atrocities. Would you say a lot of it has to do with mental health?
Well, see, I think that's I think mental health is really critically important, but I think what it has a lot to do with when you specifically target Black people and people of color is the fact that we have a system of racism that touches every single institution that we're in. And when you aren't honest about that, when you aren't really teaching how historically that has affected and damaged lives, right? What you're teaching instead is how people of color are damaging the country, right? And so when you feel like your life is in danger in some way, then it's easier to then take that out on other people who look like me, right? But mental health certainly plays into that, but it is not the only factor.
Yeah,
And I would say that it's probably not the most significant factor. I think the factor is racism, right?
yeah,
And then on top of that, mental health
yeah.
issues
And
that
people can still sign up to get involved with what you're doing. Is it on the website? Is that information on the website? Give us that
the
information.
information is on the website for the summit. It is the conflict closer /summit. So that's really easy, right? And then for my website, it's lynnemaureenhurdle.com, and you'll find information about On the Matter of Race there as well.
There you go. Thank you so much. Lynne Maureen Hurdle, the conflict closer. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, all right?
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you for doing all that you're doing in our community to help others realize what's going on. All right, we'll take a quick break right here. I've got a whole lot more coming up right here on Open. Thanks for hanging out.